After sinking a couple hundred hours into the Tomcat, am I good at it? Absolutely not.
Oh, come on, shit!
Am I at least better than when I first jumped into this beast? Definitely yes. That's why I made this video, to help you push through the early pain and frustration of learning Heatblur's F-14 Tomcat. Now, quick disclaimer, this isn't a step-by-step tutorial or how-to masterclass. It's more like me sharing the biggest issues I ran into while learning the jet, and how I eventually wrestled them into submission. So without further ado, let's dive in. When you first sit in the pilot seat of an F-14, you will probably be overwhelmed by the sea of analog switches, knobs, and gauges that look like they belong in a Cold War museum. And technically, they kinda do. This thing was born in the 60s. As much as I love the Tomcat, being a fanboy didn't make it any easier to learn. Day one, I was absolutely clueless. Did I crack open the manual like a responsible adult simmer? Nope. I jumped straight into my dream jet. I tried the tutorial missions. They are well made, with narration and structure.
As you might know, the F-14 has a pneumatic engine startup.
But since I didn't quite understand half the cockpit, I got lost fast. At that point, I had two choices: quit and move on to something more user-friendly, or stick it out. And to be honest, the Tomcat is way too gorgeous, way too iconic to just give up. I still had that Top Gun image burned into my brain. So quitting? Not happening. I went back to basics. Step 1. I skimmed the official manual. Step 2. I read Chuck's guide. Properly this time. That guide is gold. Between those, I started practicing in instant missions and training scenarios. Little by little, things started clicking.
Let's do this. Missile launch, 1 o'clock. Hot, brake left.
The cockpit. That cockpit is intimidating. The first thing that freaked me out were the circuit breakers. A whole wall of little switches staring at me like, "Good luck, rookie." Then there were those funky square buttons used for HUD and navigation modes. My brain went, wait, are these buttons? Knobs? Do I twist them? Pull them? What the heck is this? Turns out, you just push them. When they are pressed in, they rotate into a diamond shape. That means on. Square shape means off. Took me way too long to figure that out. But hey, progress. Once I got familiar with the cockpit layout through Chuck's guide, things started to feel less like solving a puzzle box. Next up, the heads-up display. If you're coming from the F-16 or F-18 like I was, you're in for a surprise. No speed, no altitude, just a very minimalist HUD. My first thought was, seriously? What's the point of this thing? But that's when the analog gauges come in. You must get used to constantly scanning them. Inside, outside, inside, outside. That rhythm becomes your life. If you just stare at the scenery, yeah, you're probably about to have a very expensive fireball moment. At first, it feels like extra workload, but after enough hours, it becomes instinctive. You will just know where to glance and when. Until then, keep practicing. And if you're totally new to aviation, I strongly recommend learning the basics. There are tons of YouTube videos explaining flight instruments and scan patterns. It's boring homework, but trust me, mastering the basics makes every other aircraft easier. Remember, real pilots spend years and ridiculous amounts of money learning this stuff. We get to skip the bill and do it from our desk chair. So stop complaining, embrace the grind, and enjoy the fact that this is the closest most of us will ever get to flying a real Navy fighter.
Brake right. Missile launch, 9 o'clock.
Now, the bane of my existence, landing the Tomcat. Whether it's a simple pattern landing on shore or the dreaded carrier trap, this jet will fight you every step of the way. One of the biggest dangers? Low speed handling. The Tomcat is heavy, has massive wings, and if you yank it too hard at low speed, it'll happily depart controlled flight and ruin your day. Turning this thing in the pattern feels like walking a drunk elephant on a tightrope. One wrong move and you're in big trouble. It took me over 100 attempts just to start getting it right. Yes, triple digits. And even today, I still mess up my approaches. But hey, at least I can usually get it down in one piece now. Progress. Here's the game changer I wish I had embraced earlier. DLC, or Direct Lift Control. On approach, especially carrier approaches, the Tomcat has these special spoilers on the wings you can deploy with a little thumb wheel on the stick. Instead of constantly juggling throttle to make tiny corrections, DLC lets you adjust your descent rate instantly by changing lift directly. Need to drop a little faster? Roll the wheel forward. Need to float a bit more? Roll it back. It's like having a fine-tuning knob for your glide slope. The first time I ignored DLC. My approaches looked like a roller coaster. Up, down, until splat. Once I started using it properly, my landing went from barely survivable to kinda professional. If you're struggling with carrier traps, master DLC. It's not optional. It's your best friend. This video is already running too long, so I'll stop here. Maybe we'll continue in part 2. Learning the Tomcat is a long journey, but every hour is worth it. It demands respect and training, but the payoff is incredible. Stick with it, and one day you will be grinning ear to ear, ripping through mountains at Mach 1 like an absolute legend. So take the plunge, dive down the rabbit hole, and whatever you do, don't give up. And hey, if this video kept you from rage quitting the Tomcat and gave you the push to try it one more time, then hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the skies.